Hi everyone and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Tony and I'm the Head Marketologist at MyMarketology. So first of all, just a quick sound check. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see the title screen of the presentation? If you'd just like to leave a message in the live chat for me, that'd be great. Hello, just a quick check to make sure everyone can hear and see the presentation. So if you wouldn't mind just leaving a message in that live chat box for me, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Right, so we'll get underway then. So first of all, I'll give you a little bit more information about MyMarketology, just in case you haven't come across us before. Now, MyMarketology is an online learning platform built specifically for the digital marketing industry. Our training covers everything from graduates looking to learn the basics of digital marketing and how to obtain the skills to enter the industry, through to more advanced topics supporting managers and heads of business to drive success and support their growth as well. Now, my own experience spans over 20 years, during which time I've been involved with digital marketing projects ranging from small, highly targeted postcode specific campaigns to full national and multinational integrated marketing strategies as well. I've worked across a number of B2B and B2C sectors and love sharing what I've learned through that time. I'm Google AdWords and Bing Ads certified as well, and have run PPC campaigns running into hundreds of thousands of pounds per year across multiple sectors and industries too. So I've got quite a strong background in the world of PPC. So that's what you need to know about us. We'll now move on to the webinar itself. Now, we always have a broad range of industry attendees at our webinars, and the purpose of this one is to give you a comprehensive understanding of PPC marketing, or in so much as we can do within an hour anyway. Now, it's in no way a replacement for in-depth study of PPC by any means. We do have our own PPC marketing course available as well. And also it's always good to get some active practice in the real world with real campaigns and real audiences as well. But as I say, in the next hour we aim to give you a solid understanding of everything that is PPC marketing. Now, you can contact me directly after the webinar finishes if you do have any questions or if you want to have more of an in-depth conversation. Also, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have at any time using that comment section and live chat section on the screen there. As I say, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have at any point, and I'll pick them up as soon as I can. So, we've received a lot of questions recently about PPC marketing. We work in days where PPC, unfortunately, is no longer a choice. Some people, as I say, would add that word unfortunately to that sentence, but it's just the way of life now. Being in front of our audience at their decision-making moments, also known as micro moments as they're currently being called, and ensuring that our competition aren't tempting our audience away with better positioned ads is now a real challenge for most digital marketers. Along with that, PPC is a change in discipline. Ad blocking technology, ever-changing strategies, and audiences were also changing their behaviour when making purchases is all adding to the challenges that we're experiencing with PPC. With some time, some enthusiasm and some resilience though, and a little bit of the right knowledge, you can start to gain some traction with your PPC campaigns and prove that there are opportunities to produce strong return on investment from this particular discipline. Some companies that we've spoken to are outsourcing the PPC and SEO work. You still stand to gain from this webinar if that applies to you though. We'll show you how PPC campaigns should be structured and the best strategies that you can use for each of the advertising options. And that should bring you into a level playing field with your PPC consultants or companies that you're outsourcing to if you do fit in that bracket. And hopefully will help you to check the quality of their work to ensure that you are getting exactly what you're paying for. Because again, because it can be seen as a little bit of a magic sort of industry and there's tricks of the trade there, some people just ignore it. It's not the case. It can be quite a straightforward thing once you know the fundamentals of it. So here's what we'll be covering. We'll be covering creating the accounts in AdWords and Bing Ads. They're both very, very similar process. We'll look at the home dashboard and have a quick overview of that as well. We'll explain campaign structure and account structure, how to create a campaign, ad groups and keywords, the best practice for ads, strategy, budgeting, reports, and the tools section as well. So it is a lot to cover. We've only got the hour, as I say, maybe a little bit longer if need be. So we'll get going. So first of all, creating the accounts in AdWords and Bing Ads. As I say, through this webinar, I will be using Google AdWords for the majority of the work. Bing Ads platform, it looks virtually the same apart from the branding. All the options are the same, the campaign setups are the same, the budgeting's the same. The only thing that you might notice a difference is once you start using Bing Ads is the fact that their clicks tend to be just a little bit cheaper than Google AdWords, and that's just due to the competition and the fact that Google is probably the mainstay for PPC. So, whichever option you use is quite straightforward to set up. So you go to adwords.google.com to set up your AdWords account. Click on Try AdWords Now or Sign In and you're off and away. It's almost the same process as I say for Bing Ads. For that you just need to go to advertise.bingads.microsoft.com and then choose Sign In or Sign Up. You'll be asked to input an email address as you can see on the screen there. You'll be asked to confirm the country, the time zone and the currency that you want to use for the account. Now it's very, very important when setting up the accounts, if you've not already done so, that you make sure these details are accurate. If they're not and you set up the account, it's an absolute nightmare trying to get them changed to the correct ones. So make sure they're correct when you set them up and you should be fine. You're then guided through to a Google account setup page which will be associated with your account. You just create the new account or sign in if you've got one already. You just confirm a few details and that's it done. When it comes to AdWords, you'll be asked if you want to set up an AdWords or an AdWords Express account. Express manages the ads for you, whereas AdWords still leaves you in control. So for our purposes, we did set up an AdWords account rather than the Express. But the option's there if you want to take a little bit of the control away from yourself and give it to Google. So when your account's created, you're then asked to put in your payment details for the account. It's usually a direct debit through a bank account, but you can also pay by card. You set up your payment thresholds and that part of the process is done. Bear in mind that if you choose to set up a direct debit to make payments though, you need to download the mandate on the platform and then wait a few days for the direct debit agreement to be set up. That will slow down the ability for you to advertise though, and I can show you exactly where that is on the platform. You go to the home screen in the settings at the top here and then billing and payments. And under payment methods, you'll see the different options that are set up. So as I say, if you do want to set up a new payment option, you click on add payment method and then you'd give it your bank details there and that's where it creates that direct debit setup. So that's the basic account setup completed. As I say, if you're using Google AdWords, that's on that platform there that I've just shown you. If you are planning on using Bing, it looks virtually the same and you go through exactly the same process to get that organised. One bit of advice that I can offer you here though is that there's always a special offer available on AdWords or Bing Ads for new accounts. Usually they're matched spend, so if you spend a certain amount of money, you'll get that amount of money back the following month. In some cases, you do get a little bit of extra money back as well. So keep an eye out for those if you haven't already got an account. If you do have an account already and you're using an outsourced company, make sure that they are passing their vouchers on to you. As Google certified partners, they get a certain amount of savings vouchers which they can and should be passing on to you. So that's quite important as well, because you don't want them taking your discounts and charging you the full amount as well if they can give you a little bit back. So you can view and amend your account and billing settings through this section here as well. As I mentioned in the summary there, you can look at what's going out from where and when the transactions are. Because this is a dummy account that's been set up, you can see that there's no payments being made. We do have an old Visa card in there as well. But that's where we're sitting at this point in time, just to look at those payment options. So moving on, as you can see on the left hand side of the screen here, there are a few additional options for you to view. We've got the payment methods, we've got settings, so you can see the payment account IDs and profiles here, and we've got billing transfers as well, so you can see what's being paid and where to. So great way of keeping hold of your accounts. You can also set up preferences and that sort of thing through this section as well. So we've got account settings up in the top here. So you can see the time zone, the display language, the number format, time zones, tracking, rules and terms as well, so you can actually print those out and keep them there. You can also cancel an account if you wish to do so as well. So it's just a case of making sure everything's set up correctly there. You can also link accounts, which is quite a powerful part of AdWords. So if you are using such things as Google Analytics, you've got webmaster tools as a rule on your website as well, YouTube, Google Play, Salesforce, Firebase. You can link all these accounts to the AdWords as well, such as your YouTube channel there, and also the Google Merchant Center, which is what you would use to produce shopping adverts, which we'll cover when we cover the types of advertising as well. So you can link all those different types of accounts up there too. You can set up notifications. So again, these are just alerts that you can set up for different purposes, just to keep on top of the admin of your account, if you will. And then you can choose back to the preferences, as I say, back on there. So going back to our initial plan of action. So we'll go back to this home dashboard and have a look at what we can view right from the offset when you log into the Google AdWords account. As I say, Bing Ads looks exactly the same as well. So this is a top level overview of everything that's been happening in your AdWords account. Now at the moment, with this being a dummy account, you can see there's not much been happening in the last 7 days. If we do want to change that, we can obviously change the different dates to meet what we're looking to find out. We can choose all campaigns, all enabled campaigns, the non-active campaigns. So again, we can really filter down this front page to find out exactly what we need to find out as a top level view of our advertising that we've been working hard on creating, and obviously working hard on paying for as well in most cases. You can also change from clicks to impressions to click-through rates as well. So you've got every little piece of information you need there to be able to filter down to find out what you need as a top level view. So you can see your performance graph, you can see the top movers adverts as well. It also tells you such useful information as good quality but low traffic keywords. So again, it'll give you an idea of where you maybe should be concentrating on. Obviously a good quality keyword is, you know, a really good thing to be firing for, but if it's not got that much traffic, it could be so niche that it doesn't even show up in the Google search terms, which is something you need to consider. They do say, and you'll read a lot about it in blog posts, to target the long tail keywords, so the 3, 4, 5 letter key phrases. This is becoming even more important as we move into the times of voice search and Google Assistant and Siri and that sort of thing, and Alexa, where people are searching for things using the voice rather than typing. It does mean longer phrases are coming through. It also means, though, that they're going to be much more unique search terms, which means there's much less traffic to them. So although they're very targeted, they just might not get any traffic at all, so they're a pointless exercise following. You'll only know that by actually analysing the keywords that you've got and using that as a strategy and optimization technique going forwards. Again, something we'll touch on a little bit later in this webinar. You can also see your enabled keywords, enabled campaigns, enabled ad groups. Again, these are all terms that we'll cover shortly. You can see the keywords below the first page bid as well. So if your bidding is a little bit low on certain terms and they're not going to show on that first page, unless that's deliberate, of course, because you're not always going to want to be in the first few hits. Again, something we'll cover in strategy. But this will give you a breakdown initially straight away there to tell you what's not hitting that first page, so you can either amend those bids or just stop bidding on those keywords, as I say, unless you're deliberately targeting below the first page. And you can also see the all non-active keywords as well. So I've put a few just dummy ones in there, just in the section on the right there, just to show you that the keywords do pop up and you can see what's not currently active. You can also see any non-active campaigns and non-active ad groups too. And again, you can see we've just got a few ad groups set up in there on that home dashboard. So top level overview is that home page. You get to that literally just by clicking on home. When you initially log into Google AdWords though, and Bing Ads, you'll actually be taken through to the campaigns page, so it will look a bit different when you first log in. And this is the page that you'll look at here. So for the sake of this webinar, I've deleted everything we had in this dummy account just so you can see exactly what it'll look like from a fresh start. So we'll touch on most of these parts at some point through the webinar, but for now we'll move on to explaining how campaign structures should work, and how you should actually start creating the campaigns, the ad groups, and also the keywords, ad text, and all the intricate details of this type of campaign. So this is how a well-structured AdWords or Bing Ads account should look. So you can see we've got top level account view. We've then got separate campaigns, campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3. They're then split up into individual ad groups. So again, we're just further refining the topics that we're targeting in these ad groups. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2. That's just for demonstration purposes on the screen there. But the ad groups would obviously split up the top level campaign. And then in each ad group, it's made up of keywords. You've then got the ad text that you need to use in the ads, and also landing pages need to be taken into account as well. These are all important for the ad quality scores, which should increase clicks, but also reduce the cost per click as well, all being well if you get everything right and your ad quality scores are high. Ad quality scores are something that we'll cover a little bit later. So this structure keeps your account organized. First and foremost, if you're spending money, you need to be sure where you're spending it and why you're spending it. If your account's a real mess, then you could be spending money. You could have a campaign running that you don't want running anymore. You can have separate ad groups running all over the place, and wasting budget that you don't even need to be running. And it could also affect, the other keywords that you're targeting as well, because they can compete with each other if you're not careful and organized as well. So that helps you easily change strategy as well. If you're well organized, you can turn a campaign off, turn a new campaign on, and you know that there's not going to be any conflict between the two. And it also helps you refine and optimize your PPC going forward too, if you keep it well organized. So that's just a broad example. Here's a simple example of a real life account. So they had the top level account, they then had the separate campaigns. So they had an SEO campaign, a PPC campaign, and a video campaign. The SEO campaign was split into 2 ad groups, SEO Advice and SEO Services. Then the PPC, they had PPC Services and PPC Advice. And under video, they had a Video Creation ad group and Video Services. Now, this fictional company is a digital marketing company, a digital marketing agency. They create blog content that they promote through PPC advertising, as well as professional services that are also advertised that way, which is why they've got ad groups for advice and ad groups for the services. The advice are the posts. You can see how each of the marketing disciplines is being used as an overall campaign title, so SEO, PPC, video, which has then been separated up into ad groups with their own specific purposes and titles. So you've got the SEO Advice, SEO Services, etc. The keywords that they'd use for each ad group would be unique to each of those ad groups and overarching titles. The keywords then dictate the ad text, that they use and how they optimize the landing pages where they'll be sending the audience from the adverts. So we'll talk about keywords quite shortly. This structure ensures that the ads are optimized to produce the most relevant ad copy and landing page experience for the users, and it also makes budgeting and bidding easier later on as well. It increases the quality score of the ads, which should give them increased exposure at lower cost per click or lower cost per impression. As I say, we'll discuss ad quality score in some more detail shortly, as it is probably the secret to getting better results without having to spend more money than your competition. So keep this model structure in mind when you start creating your PPC campaigns. It's important and it's overlooked by a lot of people who use PPC advertising. That includes a lot of consultants and agencies out there as well. They do tend to get heads down and forget to structure the accounts. It's also one of the steps that makes the difference between the successful PPC practitioners and the failed ones. So it is very, very important to set off from a very sound footing and be very, very organised and very strict with yourself. Another tactic that separates the successes from the failures is creating goals and objectives as well. It is something, if you've come to our webinars before, if you've read any of our blog posts, we do mention goals and objectives regarding every discipline, every strategy, every update you're sending out. It's very, very important. PPC is going to cost you money. You know that for a fact because the word pay is in the name, pay per click. Don't create PPC campaigns without knowing what your goals and objectives are, how they're going to be measured, and how much you're able or willing to pay to get those results from PPC. Whatever you do, don't guess or just come up with rough ideas. If you do, all you'll be doing is wasting your money and your time. You should already know what your goals and objectives are and how much you're able to spend on PPC to get those results. If you don't know, then you need to go back to the basics first, because PPC won't give you results unless you are organised, unless you've got strategies in place, unless you've got goals and objectives in place, unless you know exactly what you're doing. It's easy to spend a couple of pounds here and there a day, but it could affect things going forward, and it could, be at the detriment of your other work. So make sure you're organised. That's enough of the lecture on that though, so we'll move on now to how to create the first layer of a PPC strategy, which is the campaigns. So we'll go back to our AdWords, and as I say, we've discussed how you should be structuring the accounts, so we can get cracking on setting up some PPC campaigns. Your campaign should be where all of your PPC work starts. If it helps, plan your account structure on a whiteboard, a flip chart, piece of paper, back of a napkin, whatever you need to do. Some people find it easier to brainstorm keyword ideas first as a starter. They then group those up into similar groups and topics, so each group or topic would be the ad group. They then take the top level view of these ad groups to title the campaign. So whichever way you want to work, you need to make sure that you've got that hierarchy in place. It's up to you how you do it. The final structure should end up exactly the same. It's very easy to use campaigns as ad groups. Again, it's quite a common problem that you see when you're looking at other people's accounts. You can easily lose structure that way though, and your budgeting and bidding also get complicated if you lose the structure that we set out in those images there. Campaigns, as we've already discussed, are used as a top level overview of the ad groups that you'll be creating in the next stage. Some suggestions for campaigns could be target industries, your services, your products, although your products would usually be ad groups. Your objectives or goals, your strategies. So is it going to be search network? Is it display network? Is it remarketing? All things we'll cover shortly. I'll be going through the remaining sections as I mentioned earlier with Google AdWords, but be assured that Bing Ads works exactly the same, and the pages are even set up in almost the same format too. So let's create a campaign. So you click naturally on here, add campaign. You now see a number of advertising and campaign options. So as you can see there, we've got search network with display select, search network only, Google display network only, shopping, video, and universal app campaigns. They're all used for different purposes. As a brief explanation before we go into a little bit more depth shortly, the search network with display select is kind of an overarching text ad, which is search network, with also display network advertising as well. So that would be search network with display select. If you want to create just the normal sort of bog standard text advert that you see on Google search engine results pages, you'd usually use the search network only. So that's what used to be called a text only ad. You've then got display network only. So as you can see under there, it says Google's network of partner websites. And the display network are the nice sort of HTML image type adverts that you see popping up in the middle of blog posts, or you may have seen them popping up on LinkedIn as well down the right hand side of the screen on your profile. There's a lot of different places where the Google display network touches. There are other display networks as well, but obviously when we're using Google Ads, then that's going to stick with the Google Display Network. If you use Bing Ads, it uses the Yahoo Display Network. So we've then got shopping ads. Now these are the ones that you see popping up in the search engine results pages sometimes with particular products in, with prices. You click on it and it'll take you through to the website where that product is found. So shopping ads are another useful thing if you're into retail. They're not that good particularly for maybe the B2B or services world, but there's no reason why you couldn't use them. You just need some imagery and obviously some product line. The shopping ads work from the Google Merchant Center, so they're a little bit more complicated. We'll cover those shortly. You can then create video ads on YouTube and across the web there as well, and the Universal App campaign, which is a relatively new part of the Google AdWords campaigns, and that allows you to promote your apps for app installs and that sort of thing as well across the search, display and YouTube networks too. So for now we'll keep it simple. We'll just create a basic search network only ad. As I mentioned before, this is what used to be called a text ad. So we choose search network only. You now enter a 4-stage advert creation process. As you can see, we've got the 4 steps along the top here. So we've got select campaign settings, which is this page, create ad groups, create ads, and then review your ad groups. And as you can see, this is already pointing us down that hierarchy. So we've got the campaign, then we look at creating ad groups, then we create ads within those ad groups, we review them, and then they're off and running. So first of all, we need to give the campaign a name. So for this, we'll call it maybe Search Network Test. Your own naming conventions are entirely up to you, but again, to keep yourself organised, it's good to stick with the same type of naming conventions. We've then got a few options here, so we can actually change. If we've clicked on the wrong button, we can change the type of campaign we're creating here back to one of the originals that we've just looked at. Obviously, we clicked on the right thing, so we don't need to do that now. We can then choose whether we create a standard text ad or with all features. To be honest, I usually use the all features. There we go. Just because it gives us a little bit more scope and options a little bit later on when we're creating the next steps. But again, it's entirely up to you. The standard should be fine for most purposes. You then choose here the networks where you want these adverts to show. So you can remove the search partners from the Google search network if you want. If you want to be really targeted and just stay on the Google network. If you want to open it up a little bit to a broader reach, you can include their search partners too. You can then choose devices, so ads will show on all eligible devices by default. Some of the different advert types will allow you to change that. You then choose locations. Now for our purposes, in this example, we're going to stick with United Kingdom. We don't want to advertise to anywhere else. If you do have specific regions you want to advertise to, that's absolutely fine. If you want to be really targeted from the offset, you can put in specific cities, towns, etc. And you can add them in and just choose that as an area. So in that case, we would just be targeting London, United Kingdom. It gives us a rough idea of the reach within that as well for the search network. And we can also get a little bit more detailed by clicking on nearby. This gives us a map, and we can scroll in and scroll out as you usually do with Google products, and then you can actually start picking other areas if you wish to do so, or ring fencing particular areas too. As you can see, if we get really down to things, you can start seeing the different postcodal areas as well. So you can be very targeted right from the offset as to which areas of the country or countries that you're interested in you're targeting there. For now, we'll just keep it as a broad United Kingdom one. We can then choose the languages. We can choose our bidding strategy. So at the moment, we'll have a few choices. We can use some automated bid strategies. As you can see, we've got a few here. Target search page location, target cost per acquisition, target return on ad spend, which is ROAS, target outranking share. We can maximize clicks, maximize conversions, or use enhanced CPC. They're all automated, so Google will look after those for us. Enhanced CPC, what it does is it can be used by a lot of people, but basically when you set the bid setup, when you look at your keywords and your ad groups, enhanced CPC will give a little bit of an extra budget, or what it thinks it should have a little bit of extra budget to the terms or ad groups that might get slightly better click-throughs or conversions. So they look after it for you. I tend to be like to be in a little bit more control, so I always keep it as manual CPC. And then we use our default bid. So this bid, as you can see underneath, applies to the first ad group in the campaign, which we create next. So we want a default bid. You'd work this out based on how much you're willing to spend per click to get the conversion that you're looking for, in theory. This all comes under budgeting and strategy though, so we'll cover that in a little while. For now, we'll just put a default in of £1. But obviously you'd want your exact figures because you're going to be more organised than me. You'd already have your goals and objectives set up and you know exactly what your budget's going to be. You then choose what your budget per day is going to be. Bear in mind it doesn't necessarily limit itself to, in this case, just £10 as I've put in. There is a little bit of deviation based on how many ads are already out there and how many people might click. So it's usually about 20% either way that you can go over, or sometimes you'll be under as well, but in most cases you'll probably go over in that instance. You can also choose delivery method as well, which is a little bit more advanced. You can choose standard, which optimizes the delivery of ads and spends your budget evenly. If you choose accelerated, it'll try and spend your budget a little bit more quickly, so you can have a slightly quicker hit. But obviously, as you can see there is a little warning that says this may cause your budget to run out early, so bear that in mind. And again, you'll know from your goals and objectives exactly how you want these delivered. So again, the horses for courses. If you do want to get rid of the budget quickly, use accelerated. If you want to keep it even, then use standard. You can then choose ad extensions. Now, this is something that you'd set up a little bit later, but you can create them right from the offset here. So you can add things like location links, you can add site links, you can add call extensions, app extensions, review extensions to your ads, call out extensions, and structured snippets as well. So these are all ways of extending the size of the ads basically that show up in the search engine results pages. And if I'll show you a quick example of how these work, we'll just do a quick search for digital marketing, sorry, spelling mistake, but you can see here these are the Sitelink extensions. So we've got product lines, we've got services, we've also got some extra site links as well. So the really strong way of increasing the space that you're taking up on that front page. If you look at the second result here, they do have a couple of things in, but they're certainly not taking up the space that Adobe have got on that front page there. And again, you can see here is a very basic advert. It may well work for them, but it does look quite a bit different to those that are using the site links and extensions. Now, as I say, you can set these up from here. If not, you can do them a little bit later on. If you do click one of the options, you can see we've got a warning there to say we've not actually created any location extensions. We can add those now. As you can see, we'll remove that for now, but it's just as easy as going through and then adding them in as you need. If you do want to use Sitelink extensions, again, you'd need to create those using the add new site link. You'd then use link text, so maybe a services page. You would then take it through to, in our case, we'd probably use a URL like that, so services. Choose whether it's shown on mobile or not. Give it a description, which is always recommended. Again, it's just a way of getting a little bit of extra copy underneath that site link itself. You can then choose when the start and end dates of those site links are. You can change URLs for mobile as well, and you can also put some tracking code in there too. These are all very advanced sort of areas though, which we'll not cover today due to time restraints, but we'll hold another webinar where we go through the more advanced options on the PPC setup, especially in Google, because there are a few extras. So once we've got that site link created, we can then set that up and we'd add that in. So as you can see, we've got that added as a site link. If we had maybe a blog that we wanted to promote as a site link, we've not got one created, so we'll give it a link, a blog. We'd then do exactly the same again and give it a description, set the other settings as we require, and then use that. And as you can see now, we've got 2 extensions. Those extensions would show just as these are doing here. So we'd have a blog, we'd have a services, and then the more we add. As a usual rule, it'll show between sort of 3 and 4 site links if you're number 1 in the results. But you can have as many as you want, and it'll just cycle them through as the ads are shown. So you do exactly the same with the call out extensions, the app extensions as well. You then choose the scheduling as well, so you can actually choose dates and times if you do want to work to specific sort of areas through the day where you think it's more likely that you'll get clicks. You probably know this later on when you're looking at your data though, rather than from the offset. So we'll drop that for now. We can look at ad delivery, so ad rotation. So at the moment it's optimizing for clicks, and it'll show ads expected to provide more clicks. You can also optimize for conversions for some of them. You can rotate evenly and rotate indefinitely as well. Rotate evenly is good for when you're first setting up, because then it gives every advert that you're creating a fair chance of getting seen. Once you've run that a bit and you can see what's working and what's not, then you can maybe change the settings to optimize for clicks as well, and then you'll know what's working, and AdWords will then decide what's likely to get best clicks for you and serve more of those rather than the lesser ones. You can use dynamic search ads as well, which again a little bit more involved, so we'll not cover those today. And then you can change campaign URL options there with some tracking as well. So once we've created this campaign, this search network test, we'll save and continue. And now we get to create our ads. Let's just save in that. So, ad groups. So as I mentioned before, the campaign is the top level overview of that specific maybe product or service or topic. We then go into the separate ad groups. So as you remember before, we had SEO advice, SEO services and that sort of thing. This is where you would create the ad groups. And again, you can create as many as you want. You know, we've got that structure already, hopefully, because you'll have created it from your goals and objectives, and you'll already prepared the hierarchy so you know what's going where. So we'll use the example that we had on screen earlier, and we'll title this one SEO Services. As I mentioned before, keep everything nice and tidy from the offset, and then that discipline's good for later on. So what you then need is a final URL to send the advert, the ads to, in this case. So we've created an ad group name. All that is just a container to hold ads. We can change the settings of this a little bit later on. We're then creating the ads. So you want a text ad, do you want a dynamic search ad? Dynamic search ads include things like the keyword that the person's using and various other options. You can look at mobile app engagement and call only ads as well. So that's another option. You can actually just create ads that you can see here as a preview that purely are just to get people to ring you as well. As I mentioned, we're creating just a text ad itself. So we've got a final URL. Now we've got a couple of headlines here. They have just changed, or should I say last year, they changed to more extended text ads. At one time it used to be a little bit more tighter on characters. Now we've got two headlines, both containing 30 characters, and you've got a description that holds 80 characters. So you're a little bit limited on the text you can put in, so you sometimes need to be a little bit creative. There are a couple of examples here in the preview section just to give you an idea of how to get going. But again, the best practice really here is to use your keywords that you are going to be hopefully targeting. So if you do want to skip this step, that's fine. You can just skip at the bottom and then go to the keywords and just save the ad group as it is. But as you can see, it will give you some warnings here. So it's best to have everything prepared before you start creating the ads campaigns and whatnot. So we've got our final URL. This is the link here that you can see. So we'll just tidy it up a little bit. There we go. And we now choose a headline. So this is where you start getting creative. What you need to do is give somebody a reason why they should be clicking on this advert itself. As you can see in the examples here, we've got New York budget hotel, best New York hotel rates in seconds. So this is the first headline, this is the second headline, and they're separated by the dash there. We've got new college programs for you, plan for your future. So you need to give somebody a reason why they should be clicking on this. Again, this depends on your products, your services, your brand guidelines, your voice, your tone, but you need to make it appealing to why somebody should be clicking on the advert itself. So if we use maybe one of our examples, we've got free digital marketing course that we offer, so we could use that as maybe the first headline. Second headline, we've still got those 30 characters, so maybe we can give somebody a little bit of a prompt. Maybe join MyMarketology today. So again, quite straightforward. We've got a free digital marketing course, join MyMarketology today. So we've got our brand in there. They know who we are. They can see from the URL who we are and what we're about. In the path itself, it's always wise to put in some extra information based on your keywords as well. So in our case, this is digital marketing course and it's also free. So we could put maybe free course. We could put free marketing course, that sort of thing. Again, it just makes things look a little bit tidier, and when somebody's looking at the link here now, they know what they're going to get to when they click on that advert itself. So they now know they're going to get to mymarketology.com, and it's going to be something to do with a free course, and that ties in with a free digital marketing course. So you get the idea, it's keeping everything relevant. And then we need to add a description. So at the moment we've got the default one here, experience all the comforts of home, save with multi-day booking, reserve now. I'd usually start with the call to action again that's going to get them to click through, get that audience to click through. So I'd start with that first. It seems a little bit backwards, but what I'm doing then is I'm actually making sure that I've got my call to action in, and then I need to use the remaining characters, in this case 66 characters, around the rest of it. So now we can start adding the actual copy in. So learn maybe fundamental digital marketing skills. As you can see, it's counting down in the right hand side of that box there as well. As you can see, I'm likely to go over the characters now, which is why I would always suggest getting that call to action in first, because I've still got that there now. I know I want to keep that. Now I just need to tweak this copy here to get it in line and drop 12 characters. So maybe we could, let's have a look. So can we remove with our? Not quite. So we could change it from there to there. Learn fundamental digital marketing skills online at your own. No, that's not going to fit in either. On any device. There we go. Perfect. So learn fundamental digital marketing skills online on any device. Sign up today. As you can see, we've got the preview here of the advert as well. We can also see the preview as it look on desktop too. So free digital marketing course, and it's all there. We've got 2 call to actions in. The user knows exactly what they're going to get when they click on it, and then we've got the advert there. Now we also need to choose some keywords. So we can first of all put some tracking on there if we want to do so. Again, these are all advanced, so we'll not cover that today. So the keywords, now you should, as I say, already have these in place as part of that planning before you start the PPC setup. You should have your keywords already researched and jotted out and separated up into your specific ad groups, and then you know when you're creating the ads that you're going to be using those keywords as well. The setup initially here doesn't make it look as if that makes sense. It takes you through what Google suggests on setup is the best way around of doing things. But in practice, it's always best to have the hierarchy structured from your goals and objectives. Get your keywords planned as well. Then all you need to do is just come into the platform and start creating based on all that information you've already collected. So for this case, we'll just start adding a few keywords in. We can type in as well if we wish to do so, as you can see there. And the suggestions are always there. It's always best to do your own keyword research. Don't trust the tools. Obviously, AdWords and Google and Bing do want you to spend your money on PPC, so they'll help you to a certain degree, but they're not always going to be the best options. So there's a little bit of advice here. Start with 10 to 20 keywords. Be specific. Keywords are broad match to searches to help you capture a wide range of relevant traffic. There are different match types. So you've got exact match, broad match, phrase match. It's worth looking those up. We'll cover this in another webinar though, because again it's quite an in-depth topic as to how to use those, because there are certain modifiers that you can use on your keyword research as well. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about keyword research for SEO and PPC, we have created a webinar which is on our YouTube channel and is also on our MyMarketology.com labs blog as well. That goes through a full process on how to get the best keywords out of all the tools and some other little tricks of the trade to get you the better keywords as well that might suit your needs. But for this, we'll keep them as they are, so the very broad match keywords. We've not got the 10 or 20 there that they're suggesting, but it doesn't matter for a demo account. Once you've got your keywords in, you can estimate the search traffic. Now, another thing that Google doesn't tell you is, unless you're spending a great deal of money with them, a lot of their estimations on traffic and search volumes are kind of literally that, they're estimations, they're nowhere near accurate. Bing tends to be more accurate, but their figures from the keyword tools and search volumes are only based on people using the Bing search engine. So in the UK, with it only making up about 8% of searches, it's not a great deal, but it gives you a good idea on ratios. Again, that's something that we cover in that course, in that webinar, so please feel free to go and watch that. It's well worth your time because we do have some good information in there and really useful for making sure that your keyword research is absolutely top notch. You can here maximize cost per click as well, so your maximum cost per click. That's our default bid, but we can change that for these keywords in this ad group as well if we wish to do so. So once we've created it and we're happy with it and it's all in line with everything that we need it to do, we can then save and continue. Now, as you can see here, it's giving me a warning. This ad doesn't follow our policies. Here's what you need to fix. So today, exclamation mark, punctuation and symbols. There are very, very specific guidelines onto what you can and can't do in the copy, and specifically headlines of your ads. I deliberately left that in there just to show you that you do get errors. If there are any errors, it won't let you continue. You'll need to amend those, make sure everything's in line with their professional guidelines first, then it'll let you move on. If you are ever wondering, you'll see things flash up in red. If you want more information, click on it and it'll tell you exactly what you've done wrong there. So you also need to bear in mind, it's okay to use this type of capitalization, but if you try to do it, capitals all over the place, just to make it stand out, they won't allow that. So this is allowable. You can write it all in lowercase if you wish to do so as well, but as you can see there, best practice is to use that type of capitalization as well. If you don't feel as if you're being treated fairly, you can request a manual review of the adverts as well, which is something that Facebook advertising does as well if you've ever used that. So they will have somebody look at it rather than the platform, but again, usually their platform's bang on and it'll flash up those errors. So we amend that, we've got rid of that exclamation mark, we're all above board, and now we're off and running. So as you can see here, for the purposes of this, I'll turn these off because we don't want these ads running yet. We're now into our keywords. So this is our keyword section. These are the keywords we've chosen. We can see the maximum cost per click that we've just put in under our budget in. We can see how many clicks, impressions, click-through rates, average cost per click costs, and a lot of other information as well there. If you want to add more keywords in, click on the add keywords and just type away or cut and paste them in there. You can estimate the search traffic and save them as well. You can add negative keywords if you wish to the account as well, based on an ad group level or campaign level. So again, because we've got that hierarchy, this gives us new options. But basically, negative keywords are words that you don't want including in searches, or the words that you don't want to show up for. So it could be that you sell shoes, you only sell ladies' shoes, not men's shoes. So in your keywords, you might put men's shoes in there or something along that line. And then if anybody's searching for that, it won't show your results in there. So it's a really good way of making sure that you're not wasting budget and spend as well. Our search terms tab here basically shows you the search terms that your advert has been showing for. Now, they don't always match with your targeting, especially if you're using these broad match terms. Again, there are those different types. You can either Google search for those, find out the different match types and how they work, or, as I say, we will hold another webinar with these slightly more advanced topics in as well. So you've got your search terms, and that will then allow you to choose whether you want to include those as keywords or not. So this is where you usually find the slightly stranger terms that you're showing up for, and whether you want to keep those or as not. So on the top of the options here, you can see a little bit of a breadcrumb navigation. So we can go back to all campaigns from here, and because we're in search terms, it's not showing us anything yet. So we need to click on the campaigns tab. As you can see, our campaign's set up now. Search network test, brilliant. If we click on that, it will take us through our hierarchy. So we've got our ad groups now. SEO services, that's what we've just set up. Brilliant. We can change the default bid if we want to do. Default max cost per click. And we can change it to 50p if we wish. And again, we can do all that from there. We can change the name of it from here as well. And if we click on this, it'll take us through to our keywords. The only thing you've not seen so far is the ads. So if we click on our ads tab, it'll show you a breakdown of the ad as well. You can see it's under review. It does take a little bit of time for Google to review the new ads going on. Bing are exactly the same as well. You can also see the stats. And if you ever need to see any more information, again, this is more advanced stuff, but you've got an awful lot of information that you can be using here to ensure that absolutely everything that you're spending is being spent in the right place on the right things. So that's kind of the initial setup, very basic setup of a search network only campaign, or as they're called, those text ads. We've got a few sort of tips on ad best practice for the search, well, for all the different types. I'll not go into setting up individual campaigns for video and that side of things. If you're interested in that, let us know. Send us a comment, send us an email. We'll create separate videos to show you how to create those from scratch and using those keywords as well. As I mentioned before, keywords, we do have that webinar in place where you can actually watch it through, watch us go through a full keyword research process that we use day to day. It's definitely one of the easiest and most efficient ways of doing things, although there's no real corners that you can cut when it comes to keyword research. You need to spend the time and effort on it. So going back to our best practice, so for the text ads themselves, you need to highlight what makes you unique, whether that's your product, your service, or something else that you're using as a message. Include prices, promotions, and exclusives if you can. Empower customers to take action. That's one of the big things. People see a lot of adverts. They don't click on every advert they see, so you really need to give them the benefits of clicking through, tell them how to contact you, tell them what they're going to get by clicking. Include at least one of your keywords. Now, keywords in your ad text show that your ad's relevant to what people want. So if you've included digital cameras as a keyword, your ad headline could be buy digital cameras, that sort of thing. Match your ad to your landing page, another important thing. Have a look at the page that you're linking to from your ad, or the landing page, and make sure that the promotions of products in your ad are actually included there. People are going to leave your site if they don't find what they're expecting to be found. So don't use PPC ads to sneak people into different pages. You need to be open and honest from the start. The ad takes them through to a relevant landing page that is also optimized for those particular keywords, because that adds up to the relevant, the quality scores for AdWords and Bing ads. You need to appeal to customers on mobile as well. So people seeing your ads on mobile are more likely to want to know where you are or how to call you. So show your location and phone number with the location extensions and call extensions that we discussed briefly. Also consider creating ads devoted to people on mobile devices as well, using the mobile version of your website as a landing page and offer specials, offers suited to mobile audience. Bear in mind as well that text ads can appear differently on mobile, which is why they give you that little bit of a preview at the side as you're creating them. Experiment is another big one. So create 3 or 4 ads for each of your ad groups, maybe more, and use different messages for each to see which does the best. AdWords rotates ads automatically to show the best performing ads more often if we leave that setting as it was, as I discussed. Also, check for common ad text mistakes as well. So make sure that all AdWords ads are high quality. Every ad has to meet those high professional and editorial standards that I mentioned as well. So it means that you can't add extra spaces or strange capitalization or have unclear URLs. That's just a few of them. As I say, they will flash up warnings if they think you're trying to be clever with them as well. So ad quality score, what is it? Where does it come from? What's it about? It's a tricky thing, is ad quality score. There are 2. There's one for the text ads, there's one for display network ads on Google as well. Display network, they've not released how they kind of go around creating that quality score. There are a few things that are taken into account for text ads though. So the first thing is your click-through rate. The better your click-through rate, the slightly better your advertising is likely to be, because people are actually clicking through. So that is a signal to AdWords that your ads are slightly better quality, so they'll give you a little bit of a bump up in quality score there. Bit of a catch-22, I know. The next one is the relevance of the keyword to the ad group. So if you're creating ad groups with the structure that we explained, then you will be well organised. The keywords will be relevant to the ad groups that they're sitting in. As I mentioned before, if you're just chucking keywords into a random ad group, then it's not going to be relevant and it's going to cause you problems with the ad quality scores. Landing page quality and relevance is another one. So again, the landing page experience needs to match the ad experience. If you're using keywords in the ads and the ad text, make sure those keywords and the landing page are also the same. Make sure there's relevancy and consistency right through with your messaging. The next is the relevance of your text ad as well. So the ad copy, as I say, has to match the keywords and the intent of the place you're sending them to. And last but not least, it also takes into account your historical account performance. So if you've got a brand new account, you're going to struggle from the offset. So having a good structured account, as we've explained, using those best practice tips there as well, doing everything you can to get the click-throughs and ensuring that your relevancy of your keywords to your ad groups, to your landing page and to your text ads are all as strong as they can be increases the ad quality score. The better your ad quality score, the more likely to position number 1 in the search results, in those PPC ad results. It also means you're likely to pay less per click. If you have a higher quality score than your competition and you're willing to pay maybe a little bit less, there's a greater chance that Google will position you ahead of the competition even if they're willing to spend more, because your ads are more relevant to that searcher's terms. So to summarise then, use keywords, write in title case, test, rethink the ad text if it's not quite gelling correctly, make your headline scannable, use those path fields where I put the free course in, and use ad extensions and site links as well. So a few best tips for the display network ads. Now these are mentioned are the image ads that you see on blog posts and various other places. The best advice we can offer here is to have clear call to actions and use standout colours for those call to actions as well. The call to action needs to be strong based on that part of the customer journey. So it needs to be benefits driven. It needs to give them a real strong reason to click on it. Remarketing ads, which again we're not going to have time to cover today unfortunately, but we will cover in a later webinar. Remarketing ads don't get very high click-through rates just by default anyway. They're very large impression, very good for brand awareness, not as strong for conversions. So the more you can do to try and get the clicks back from those, the better. They're not a wasted exercise by any means, and they can get people at the right time back onto your website, but they do need a little bit of thought around them. The display network, as I say, also has their own quality score. you're going to struggle to find that information out, how they work that out though. So you just need to make sure that you're following best practice. Try to target them as best as you can to ensure the most relevance with the target audience too. So shopping ads, as I mentioned before, we're not going to cover this. This is a topic to itself and it'll take quite a long while to go through. Shopping ads use the Google Merchant Center, and that's the e-commerce type of PPC advertising approach. So it's quite involved. It requires a little bit more thought than the other PPC options as well. If you're interested in that topic, leave us a comment, send us an email through at hello@mymarketology.com, and we'll make sure you do get an invite to that webinar. As I say, it's going to be really useful for anybody, particularly in the retail or e-commerce side of things. We've then got the video ads. So again, best practice here for video ads is, first of all, the fact that they can take time and money to create. Sometimes though, rough shot ones on a smartphone can sometimes be just as effective. Also animations created on any animation suite, maybe the Adobe products, just to name a few. But anything that can catch the eye, video ads are useful for. Now when you're advertising video through Google, it will position them on YouTube and some other partners that they have. There are two options when it comes to video though. You've got bumper ads and TrueView ads. Now the bumper ads are the ones that may be seen as a little bit annoying. They're the short adverts that pop up at the start of the YouTube videos that you watch. You can't skip through them until you get to 3 seconds. So they're the bumper ads. You can pay to get your ads in those positions. They're not a great deal of money, but again, they're not as effective as necessarily other channels. But again, for brand awareness, absolutely brilliant. The TrueView ads are the ones that you see maybe in the middle of YouTube ads. You'll see that little yellow box showing in the timeline, and they're the TrueView ads. They can be a lot longer in length, but again, they are skippable. The bumper ads can be no longer than 6 seconds, whereas TrueView can be pretty much any length. Again, they've got specific guidelines, and again, it's a topic for another webinar, is video advertising on YouTube in particular. But be assured that from the Google AdWords platform and Bing ads that you can advertise through video as well. And then you've got your universal app campaigns. So as I mentioned before, these make it easy to promote your Android or iOS apps across the Google network. So it could be YouTube, it could be Google Search, Google Display, etc. You've got two ways of optimizing those. So you can optimize them for more installs of your app, or you can drive in-app actions as well. You'll have seen those adverts popping up in various apps at various stages through maybe games or particular maybe blog apps or podcast apps. You'll see the adverts popping up. They're the options there that you can drive through from the display network ads as well as the universal app campaigns too. So moving on then. So strategy wise, again, it's quite a broad topic, is strategy, when it comes to PPC, but we've got a few sort of tips here. The first one's multi-channeling. PPC isn't a standalone marketing discipline. It works best when you use it alongside all the other disciplines that you're using. It works with SEO, it works with email marketing, it works with social media. It can also work with your offline as well, so direct mail and pretty much every other marketing discipline that you're working with. Here are just a few examples. You can test email subject lines using PPC ads. So rather than sending emails out, you can test those subject lines first of all at a reduced cost through the AdWords, naturally, because that's not hopefully going to cost as much as sending maybe 10,000 emails out. So it gives you a good way of testing what's going to get people to click and what isn't. You can support your SEO with traffic from PPC as well. So more traffic coming into your website, although the experts say PPC doesn't change any SEO rankings. The fact that people are clicking on ads and then coming to and spending time on your website can't not affect your SEO to some degree, even if it's a small amount. So again, the more traffic in, the better. And if it's highly targeted traffic, you'll get your conversions, you'll get the time spent on the website that you need them to be doing to convert and become maybe customers or download or sign up for those newsletters as well. You can also test imagery for your social ads, for your social updates, or social paid advertising with display network ads. Again, they're a cheaper way of getting out the imagery to see what gets clicks and what doesn't. You then need to consider branded keywords. So these are your terms, your maybe trademarks, your brand name. Some people advise not to cover them because you don't need to. You'll show up with the SEO organically, that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with spending a little bit of money securing your own branded keywords. Again, you're taking up space on the front page. Even if you do show organically, there are still always going to be adverts above you. So if you're paying for those ads, you're going to have the highest quality scores, you're going to have the highest relevancy because it's your website, it's your brand terms. So even if the competition do try and bid on them, as long as you're showing up and you're trying to rank for them through the PPC ads, you should get precedent, you should get the lower cost clicks and still be there. So it just pushes the competition a little bit further down. Moving from the side of that is competitor keywords. Again, should you or shouldn't you target them? Well, it's a tricky one. If they're terms such as Microsoft or Apple or Google, if you try and target their competition or their target keywords, it's not going to play ball. Anything trademarked you can't use in the ads themselves, obviously under their professional guidelines, their editorial guidelines. But if there are certain terms that aren't trademarked, then there's nothing wrong with targeting them and trying to show in the searches for your competition's products and services as well. You may see that happen with your own products and services from time to time. So as far as I see it personally, there's nothing wrong with targeting those keywords that your competition are using as well. After all, it's competition at the end of the day. You need to try and get in front of their audience as much as they do yours. Remarketing and retargeting on the display network. So these again are two terms best left for another webinar due to time constraints because we are running a little bit over now. But remarketing and retargeting are the ads that you see following you around the internet. So if you go onto Amazon and then go onto Facebook, you're likely to see that product pop up in your news feed. You may look on maybe Amazon again as an example on their site on your desktop looking at certain products. You'll then be reading a blog a couple of hours later and you'll see an advert for that product as well. So they're remarketing ads. They're basically following people around that have been on websites or that are part of email lists or have shown certain other behaviours. They're quite involved to set up, but they are absolutely brilliant for just reinforcing the fact that your brand's still there. And then landing pages, as I mentioned before, no matter where you're sending people to, it's always going to be a landing page of some description. So whether you're using text ads, display ads, remarketing ads, video ads, whatever, they've all got to go somewhere, and that's going to likely be a landing page. So they need to be optimized for those search terms that you're looking for. They need to be relevant to the audience and why they're clicking through from that advert to it. Doesn't matter what they're there for, if it's a newsletter sign up, a webinar sign up, it needs to have the relevancy. Unusual best practice for a specific landing page is to not have any navigation on there as well. If you take the navigation off, if somebody hits that page, all they can do is either complete the action or just shut that tab down in the browser. So again, it gives people just that little extra prompt that, oh right, I'm here to sign up, for argument's sake, I'll sign up and then I can get off this page. So again, landing pages is yet another topic and it's very, very broad. We will try and get some information together for you on landing page best practice as well. Once we do that, we'll share it out as a resource with you as well. So moving on from strategy, we'll look at budgeting and reporting really. So just a few considerations for now. Again, the more advanced topics really. Your marketing budget, how much can you spend to get the custom? Basically is the thing you need to look at, and hopefully that's more than your competition. If not, you're going to lose out. So basically it's called customer value optimization. We've got a webinar coming up on it soon, and we're also going to try and cover it in this week's MyMarketology lab as well. So keep your eyes peeled for the notifications coming out on those. You can also sign up to receive our communications on our homepage, which is mymarketology.com as well. A couple of budgeting options you have are CPC or cost per click and CPM or cost per thousand or cost per meal. They're a little bit different how they work. Cost per click you're paying for somebody when they actually click on the advert itself. CPM you're basically paying for an awareness, so you pay every 1,000 impressions that are put out there, whether somebody clicks on it or not. CPM is really good for getting sort of noise and awareness out there. CPC is a little bit better for naturally getting conversions, but also a little bit more commitment from the audience as well. as I say, they're the budgeting options. Budgeting strategy. Again, this should be part of your objectives and goals and your budgeting at the start when you're setting up your hierarchies. But points to bear in mind is, do you have a daily budget or do you have a lifetime amount for the campaign? It's going to cost you money no matter what you do, so you need to prioritise for your own goals and objectives. In theory, if you're selling a £100 product, you could, and assuming that you have no other cost to cover, spend £99.99p per conversion and still be making a profit. Again, it's customer value optimization, that really, but you need to know exactly how much you can go up to spend per click based on conversion rates and then still make money on the product being sold. So keep in touch with us if you do want more information on that and you want some information on the webinar about that. So as I say, budgeting needs to be planned out well before you go through the process of setting up your campaigns and creating your ads, whichever you know they may be. Each campaign has its own total budget as well, which is why we create the hierarchy as we do, and you then budget across each of your ad groups and keywords too. So the reporting function, as I mentioned before on the home page, is let's go back to it for you, is quite involved. And if you're looking at the campaigns as well in particular, there's a lot of sort of information you can glean from this. Your goals and objectives will define exactly what metrics you need to measure at the end of the day. Some of the useful ones for you are search impression share. Now this tells you how many percentage of impressions you're losing if your budgets are too low or if your ad quality scores are too low. You can find these if you go into, we'll just go into ad groups, and you can actually look in columns. Oops, go back. And we are under metrics. I've already got them on just to make sure. No, I'm in the wrong advert type. Basically, what you can see is the amount of lost impressions you're losing due to quality score or budget. They're found in competitive metrics on that settings in the columns. You can also look at the cost per click or cost per thousand on each of the ad groups or campaigns or keywords that you're looking at as well. As you can see here on the keywords, we can look at the cost per click, the impressions, the interactions, average cost and cost as well. Quality score is an important one to keep an eye on. Conversions and cost per acquisition are important as well, because naturally you want people to be clicking on your adverts. Click-through rates are massive as well, so you need to really keep an eye on those, because if you're not getting the click-through rates, it means people are seeing your ads but they're not clicking on them, so you need to amend maybe calls to action, the language that you're using, the positioning, the targeting and all that side of things as well. And the rest of the stats really depend upon your particular goals and objectives too. Last but not least, we've got our tools. There are quite a few tools at the top here. As you can see, we can look at the conversions, so that's where we create conversion goals themselves, so we can track the revenue off those. Again, we'll cover that in the advanced webinar. We can look at the attribution. We've got Google Analytics, we've got Google Merchant Center. Again, these are the linked accounts. The Google Merchant Center is the one that we'd use for those shopping ads again. The keyword planner and display planner and ad preview and diagnosis all help you sort of fine tune your work. If you follow our keyword research process in that video that I've mentioned a couple of times, you'll use the keyword planner and also the display planner to search out relevant keywords and to use the information from Google itself. It is one tool that should be used as part of a much larger process, though. Don't just use it on its own, because again, Google will always look after their own interests first as a general rule. In the nicest way, they are a business, so their keyword planner's not 100% perfect. There are other opportunities out there, so as I say, please watch that video that we've got with that full process on, so that you don't just go down the route of what a lot of people do and just rely on these two planner tools to create the keywords and display ads as well. And then if you do want to see if your ads are showing, you can click on the ad preview and diagnosis. It does bring up a little preview section, You can enter your search term here. So we've got, say, digital marketing, and we can choose the location, the language, and the device as well, and you can see whether your ads are showing for that, and if they're not, it'll give you some reasons why. Obviously, our ads, we've only just nicely set them up, so they've not even been put live, but it will tell you whether they're showing or not as well. So that's the end of the webinar. As I say, sort of a quick whistle-stop tour through the world of PPC marketing. Every particular section is an in-depth section on its own, so please keep your eyes peeled for our webinars coming up, because we will go through these in much more detail for you. We do also have our courses available as well. We do have a course available on PPC marketing, which takes you right through from the basics right through to the very advanced work there. We've got hours and hours of video training modules there that you can reference back to. So again, if you're interested in that, let us know. But just to conclude, learning PPC is going to take you some time. The sooner you start learning and putting into practice, though, the sooner you will succeed with it. You do need to be organised. Start with your goals and objectives in mind and work out your strategy, including your budgets and bidding strategy based on those objectives. Just a quick question. Does anybody have any questions that you haven't had a chance to ask yet? At MyMarketology, we are open to any questions that you might have. So, please feel free to contact us, even if it's just to tell us about a project that you're currently working on. Or if it's just to have a chat and a catch up. You can also ask any questions on any of our social media channels or by emailing us at hello@mymarketology.com as well. We're also, as I mentioned already, offering a free digital marketing course to give you some extra insight into the fundamentals, along with some insider tips as well. We don't ask for any payment details, and you also get access to our team of experienced marketologists if you have any problems or questions, or if you need any support, and that's all free of charge too. You can sign up for that on the link on screen there, which is bit.ly/free DM course. All we ask is that you give it a try and let us know what you think at the end of the day. Every Friday, we publish a MyMarketology lab, answering our users' most frequent questions and giving deeper insight into more advanced topics as well. You can catch that at mymarketology.com/labs. So again, please feel free to join us over there, and we publish at 11 o'clock every Friday. And finally then, if there's no questions, the MyMarketology team and I would like to thank you for joining us on this webinar, and we wish you every success with your digital marketing. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.